In this episode of the Business of E-commerce, I talk with Bashar Katou about scaling your e-commerce business without funding. This is the Business of E-commerce, episode 93. Welcome to the Business of E-commerce, the show that helps e-commerce retailers start, launch, and grow their e-commerce business. I'm your host, Charles Pileski, and I'm here today with Bashar Katou. Bashar is a serial entrepreneur who is a seven-figure Amazon seller and also teaches other Amazon sellers how to scale their business. I asked Bashar on the show today to talk about how you can grow your Amazon business without any external funding. So hey Bashar, how are you doing today?
I am doing excellent, man, and I'm really honored to be on the show.
Yeah, awesome to have you. I love talking with retailers that have kind of built their business from scratch. So what's a bit of a background? I know I was kind of reading your story beforehand. How long have you been on Amazon and kind of how did you start?
Absolutely. So I started late 2015, early 2016, and honestly, to me, it was more of a thing where I stumbled upon it, and I think you might have heard, a lot of sellers say that. I come from a background of restaurant, restaurant owning, right? I always owned restaurants. My first job was at McDonald's at 16. I always was working in restaurants until about 2000 and I believe it was 2011. Me and my brother purchased our first restaurant here in the States after 5 years of migrating into the country because we migrated in 2006. And about a couple of years later, that was when I branched out of my kind of like a family business and I started my own thing, which was a dive restaurant and bar. And, I call that place the School of Hard Knocks because honestly, it just shaped me to the man I am today. I mean, it was total failure. I lost over $500,000, 3 years of my life, and I came out of it with $150,000 in debt. So that happened right around April. Actually, was on April 28, 2015, when my kitchen caught on fire, and I had no insurance. And my landlord had it with me. He said, "That's it, you're out," because I was late on rent. 25-year-old knew nothing about running his own restaurant, let alone doing it on his own. No background experience in running such a massive operation. Running 20, 30 employees at once and things like that. So I had always heard about the term "I work from home," and I never understood what that meant. When people said I work from home and I own my own business, to me, it always meant if you own your own business, you had a physical location where you or employees interacted with customers, and the kind of the contribution was, you give product or service, and in return you receive money's revenue for your business. So the whole concept of working online to me was a total scam. I didn't believe in it. It wasn't something that I really wanted to do, but at that time, I had a lot of time. I had zero money. I didn't know what to do. I had just got a job working as a dishwasher at Hilton Hotels after being my own business owner for 5, 6 years. So I was totally devastated. I just got a DUI. I came out of it drinking heavily, went into rehab. So 2015 was a total dark year for me. And honestly, that's when I stumbled upon the online world and more specifically selling on Amazon. And that's kind of when everything turned around for me and opened my eyes.
Okay, so 2015 and then going into 2016, that's when you started kind of getting a little into this. So you kind of went on Amazon and said, "Want to start selling," but at the time you were still, well, you said 150 grand in debt. So you probably didn't have much to actually fund the business. So what did you when you see folks say selling on Amazon, there's a lot of different ways of selling, drop shipping, private label, different things. What did you get into first, and where'd you kind of go from there?
So I'll be 100% honest with you. What I am into currently is private label. To me, I am into it right now because it is the most passive, scalable, and automated, at least in my opinion. Many people may their opinions might differ from mine, but that's kind of what I think today. Now, when you start a private label brand or a product, you need at least a couple $1,000s, even if you're just launching one product, couple hundred units. It needs a couple of tools. You need, the minimum order quantity is at least 200, 250. Some suppliers may even ask you for more. So you need a couple of grand under you to really start the business. Now, I understand that a lot of people don't have that. And when I first started, I sure did not have anything. I mean, I had nothing, all the money that I was collecting from my job was really going back to paying pissed off employees that had, started claims against me because they just had not gotten paid for the last 2 weeks, and my accounts were drained and I had no money. So I knew I had to do something, right? I was only 25 years old. I had just met someone who seemed to be the right person for me. And I knew I was just starting out. I knew that wasn't the end of me. So I knew I had to do something. I had to change something. Before that, I was working hard. I was working 120 hours per week. I was an honest, working hard man, but it wasn't enough, and so I was missing a part of the concept. I was working hard, but I was not working smart. And that's, putting the two together, I mean, made some major changes in my life. So that's when I started selling on Amazon, and more specifically, I started with retail arbitrage. I'm assuming everyone here knows what retail arbitrage is, but just a simple, I guess, description or simple definition of it. It's where you find products, selling on a retail store like Walmart, Target, whatnot, and then you flip them on another platform. To me, was Amazon. At the time, it was right around Christmas 15. So me and my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, we would go around. I niched it down to a doll by a company called Madame something. I forgot what the name was. And there were two. There was a pink doll and there was a purple doll. The pink one sold like 3 times more. But the cool thing was we could buy it at $8.99 and flip it on Amazon for $32.99. Sometimes we'd get competitors, so we'd have to drop our price to like 28. But for the most part, I was making some decent money. Although Amazon was charging me some, but I was still profiting $10 to $15, probably even more.
And you're talking. So you physically. So when we say retail arbitrage, there's a few different kind of things there. Are you talking? You would go to a store, kind of do the thing of like a physical local store to you, see a product for sale, and then say, hey, we can just list this on Amazon essentially, and then when you get the order, run off to the store real quick, get the product, and essentially just ship it out that night, sort of thing.
Right. So, okay. So let me backtrack a little bit. So what I did is I used my girlfriend's credit card. I did. I used her credit card. I put about $200 in purchases on there. I bought a bunch of units and then I shipped them to FBA. So I was doing FBA still at the time.
Okay. So you're doing retail arbitrage, but with FBA. So you were going there and identifying, hey, I can definitely sell this. And before you made the sale, you were saying, I didn't even actually list it yet. I didn't do anything, but I can just see there's a opportunity for arbitrage. Let's just purchase as many as I can at retail, ship them up, pop them in a box, ship them to FBA, and then list them. Would it be probably about a week into the future, right?
Right, absolutely. So what I would be doing is, just with the Amazon app on your phone, you could actually if you are on the seller's app, on the top right corner, there's like a little camera. If you click on it, you can actually scan the QR code and it'll tell you information about that product. It'll tell you, so it won't tell you exactly how many sales. It'll give you a BSR. And at the time, I had watched someone's videos, and they said that anything below 75,000 was good, right? It sells about 1 to 10 per day or so. So I was looking for any product that had a BSR, and BSR is best sellers rank, of below 75,000. And then I was looking for a product that didn't have more than 10 sellers on the same listing, because I assumed more than 10 was just going to be way too competitive. And then I was also looking at the FBA fees, making sure that the cost of the product plus the FBA fees equal whatever that number is less than what I can sell it for. Obviously, whatever is left is my profit.
So BSR, best seller rank, is that the
right?
BSR below 75,000, right?
Below 75,000. That's right.
Number of other folks selling the product below 10 or below, let's say.
That's right.
And then just kind of doing some back of the envelope math of saying, I'm buying it for X. Here's the, Amazon listing fees, FBA fees, shipping. Just kind of doing some back of the envelope real quick and saying, here's my cost. Is there margin still? And kind of just running through
Absolutely.
that. Okay.
Absolutely. And then I figured also there was about $1.50 in shipping cost. That because I obviously I need to ship the product over to Amazon for FBA. So I would do that as well. And that's kind of how I got started. I made a decent amount of, actually that first month we made about $1,200 in profit. Obviously I paid my girlfriend back and then we split the profit because I mean, she kind of lent me the money and I was like, okay, cool. That's a business partner. Like, hey, I just made, and that was the cool thing is that like, I was so excited. I had just made $1,200. I mean, yeah, it was a lot of running around because once again, I used her car. I didn't have a car at the time. So we paid for gas and everything. But we did do a lot of running around, but there I was running my own personal business. I mean, really, I only had $200 to start with, which I put on a credit card. So it wasn't money that I had in my pocket. It was money that I kind of, borrowed from the bank, right? $200. And I made about, I mean, obviously we bought more than that, but we made $1,200 in profit at the end of that first month. Now, the cool thing is that it was Christmas. So right after Christmas, the sales died down because, everyone was really excited about that dole and things like that. But that opened up everything for me. That opened up a lot more possibilities. I was like, okay, so if I could do that with one product, there are so many other ways and other products out there. And that's when I went into online arbitrage.
Yeah, it's funny that whole like paradigm shifting moment, right? We work with sellers
Right.
that do,
Absolutely.
100,000 orders, 100,000 orders on a regular basis, that sort of thing. But that first moment where you're like, we go from like zero to something, that's the biggest paradigm shift and that's like the most excitement of saying like, this is actually real and you can do this. And there's this moment of like, the first time the cash register rings and you're like, oh wow, I just made the first sale and I've been sitting here. And we work with tons of sellers too that, are doing this massive volume, but that very first couple orders, that's where the excitement and the real, like the mental shift happens, which is really cool.
Absolutely. Well, here's the thing. See, you got to understand one thing. Right before that, I was an operator of a multi-million dollar business that was operating, managing tens of employees at once. I had put in over $500,000 into it. Went 3 years and made zero, literally zero. I was working. The place was open from 8 a.m. to 12 a.m. I was opening, closing 7 days a week, no days off. And I was making nothing. And I was grinding, I was grinding. So for me now to go to a store, buy a product on a credit card without any money of my own, buying a couple products on a credit card, shipping them over to Amazon, punching a bunch of words online on some website, weird website that it just seemed all gibberish to me at the time, and then having a customer go and buy without me having to stand in front of customers, read off a menu, explain what the menu items are, do a clean after them after they left and all that stuff. Like that to me was just mind blowing. Like that's when really the bulb just went off and I was like, oh my God, I have been doing it all wrong all these years.
Very cool.
Had I known about this when I had, $250,000 in my bank 3 years ago, I would have probably had a $10 million a year business now, but that's the thing. I just wasn't aware. And that's the thing that a lot of people need to understand is a lot of them say, oh, well, I wish I got into it, back when it was hot in 2014 and now it's a little bit more competitive. But here's the thing. You just didn't know. You didn't know any better. You were not aware, but today you are aware. So your actions today are what matter, not what you could have, would have, should have done 2-3 years ago,
And it's always going to be more competitive. People say that about, when we first started doing AdWords, right? You could run an ad and for, I think it was between like 1 and 5 cents, you get a click and like the return was so ridiculous and just wasn't competitive because no one was doing it. And then eventually folks moved in. Same thing happened with Facebook. It used to be super easy. Like you could get clicks for next to nothing. The big folks moved in and it's always the next thing. So you're always it's just evolving, right? That if you always look back and say, oh, I wish I got started 5 years ago, it was easier. If you look 5 years in the future, today's going to seem really easy. So there's always a good reason not to start, right? But
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a good lesson right there. It's always going to be easy. Just go for it.
Absolutely, man.
So then you said you started going from retail arbitrage to online retail arbitrage, which is basically the same thing, but with websites, right?
Right. Because I mean, here's the thing: it was a lot of running around. It was a lot of scanning. Like sometimes we would go. So here's the thing: we had a good product, and then there was nothing. and then now we had to like start going scanning. We went to Home Depot, TJ Maxx, Walmart, Target. I mean, we went to so many stores. We probably scanned over tens of thousands of products, but it was just, the problem was always, okay, so this store has only 3 units of these. They have to call another store that's like 20 miles away, and then that store only has 20, let's say 10 units. And then, well, what happens after they run out? I can't just contact the supplier and say, I want a pallet of this. You know what I mean? I can't just do that.
That's the
Because if I,
yeah, that's the issue with retail arbitrage. That as soon
right,
as you start doing well, you hit a ceiling very fast. That
right.
I
And
sold
that's
my
the
10
problem.
units and I can't get 10 more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that was the problem there. Now, the cool thing with online arbitrage is that it took away the time of me driving around. I could just do it all online. And that was the whole point of me going into selling on Amazon, is that I can run a profitable business from anywhere in the world. And that was the cool thing about it, right? So online arbitrage, I used a software called Tactical Arbitrage that came out like 6 months or a year later or something like that. And it simply just scans through different websites with some different criterias, and then it shows you that, okay, this product sells on Walmart.com for $10 and then on Amazon for $25. So you figure, okay, cool. So $10 plus maybe another 5 or 6 for FBA fees, fulfillment fees, and then blah, right? Or just to sell it on, or just the referral fee or whatever. So still at the time, I did not have a whole lot of money. So I couldn't just go to Walmart.com and say, okay, you have 30 units of this product. I'm just going to buy them all, either ship them back to me or just ship them directly to Amazon and then have them sell on FBA. So what I had to do is I have to fulfill every single order. So as people ordered
Oh
my,
man.
yeah, and honestly, like it was like that. And what I would do is I would have like a Google Doc or like a spreadsheet or whatever, and would have the link to the product on Walmart. So once someone orders my product on Amazon, I would go there and then I would order the product, pay for it, and then have it shipped directly to the customer. So the cool thing about that is that all I had to come out of pocket was just the price of that one product I had to order beforehand. And then as many other products I needed to buy before Amazon paid me every 2 weeks. The bad thing was, which is why I left that, was number one, a, a lot of times I would find a product, they had 10 units. By the time that product sold, I would go back and they have run out. So that was one bad thing. Second biggest bad thing was the fact that it took so long for orders to be shipped. So Target, Walmart, all these websites take, I don't know, 5 to 7, sometimes even 10 business days. A lot of times also the software, the tactical arbitrage software, showed me products that looked similar but really weren't. Like a simple variation was just like not there, and I just couldn't see it. Because you're not physically seeing the products, you're just kind of relying on what the software is telling you. However, if you are just starting out, these are all things you can do. Like literally, and I get so many people saying, I only have like $200. What do I do? And I tell them, look, go do what I did. Go, like you're 18, you're 19, you're 20, you're 25, you just got fired, you just lost your business, you just came out of college, and like, I don't want to do this anymore, and I don't want to just keep going to school, and you have some time, go do what I did. I mean, I'm not here because I had $1 million when I started. I'm here because I had a lot of time, and I had a lot of energy, and I had a lot of drive and motivation, and I wanted to get where I am today. So,
And the thing with that too is it's not even that first couple, you have $200, that sort of thing. You're not going to make $1 million, but you're going to learn a process of, like you said, that new paradigm shift. You're going to see that firsthand, and that in itself is pretty powerful. Like if you've never done anything like this before, just getting that first order, sending a first order into FBA, just realizing, oh, I have to label a certain way, and it magically appears in FBA, and then like, oh, we can just ship out. Like that whole process right there. It's not that first 200 that you're making. It's you just did something that, you can go to. I always kind of think, you go to college, you pay for a class that there's some classes that are useful, but there's other ones you're probably not using in real life every day, and it costs you however much money. This you could literally pay $200 and get more just in that one experience, get more than some folks get in some of those college classes that you kind of just never touch upon ever again. So if you just look at it that way, it's worth it in the education alone.
oh yeah, absolutely, man. And as you said, that $200 isn't going to make you $1 million, but it's going to put you in the right path. Like if I had not started with retail arbitrage, if I had not started with online arbitrage, if I had not gone through all those processes, I wouldn't be where I am today. I just got started, and that's the key. I think is getting started. Doesn't matter what you do. Doesn't matter how you do it. Doesn't matter. Just have a goal that, okay, by X, I want to make X, right? Have a vision, but you don't need to know every single step of the way to get there, because if you just sit there and dwell over, well, I think I should do this before this, and I think I should do that before this, and what if this happened here, and what if that doesn't work out this way, you're just never going to get started. Like literally every single successful entrepreneur I have interviewed or spoken to or seen, been interviewed or something like that, they always say, when I first got started, I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't have all the pieces in the right places. I just knew I wanted to go somewhere, and I knew if I don't do anything about it, nothing is going to change. And that's what I always tell people, is that just start, man. Just stop, over analyzing things. Just start somewhere.
I like that. And I feel like your restaurant experience might have actually helped with that, right? Because you had that mentality of like grinding and hustling, and you need, a restaurant's, what is it? A hard way to make an easy living, or whatever the expression is, that you can definitely make money, but it's tough, right? You got to do a lot of work to make that. And I see folks that are kind of new to this saying like, oh, we want to automate everything, want everything hands off, want everything from the start just flowing through. And you're like, you don't really at first, like just get that Google Doc and, manually key everything in, and you can make that work at first.
Right. Oh yeah. And I always say, work with whatever you have around you. Like, stop looking, I need a brand new Mac. And like, that's a lot of times when I get new prospects in, the first thing they say, oh, I just have $1,000 and I'm gonna go buy a new Mac. And I'm like, do you have, what do you currently have? What are you using right now? Oh, Toshiba. Do you know what I used? Let me show you what I used. And it's still here, just as a reminder. I use this thing that it's so thick, it's so heavy. Toshiba laptop. That's what I had when I first got started. I would go to Starbucks, use free Wi-Fi, grab a drink of water for free, and hang out there for 6, 7, 8 hours without standing up, okay, or going to the bathroom or anything, because that's all I had around me, and I had to make it work. Stop looking for the perfect opportunity. They do not exist. Like, literally, just look around you. What do you have today? That's all you got. Start.
Yep, I like that.
Do it. Just take that first step, Yeah, sure, now I have a brand new Mac laptop, but that only came like a year after I had made tens of thousands of dollars every single month. And I wasn't even aware that I was still using my beat up Toshiba laptop until one day I walked into my house and my wife had bought me this Mac. So just start. That's all I got to say. Just literally start,
Yeah, no, that's honestly, that's probably, we still have time. We could almost end it right there, because that's some of the best advice to people starting off is you should just start. You shouldn't wait for whatever and fill in the blank. You should just start whatever you have today, and the biggest thing is not just start like building, but start actually selling. That's the biggest thing. You see people, they wait until like launch their site and they have to do a redesign and they have to do this template and this UI thing, and like, cool,
and
that's all great.
I'm waiting for my LLC and I want to get a trademark and I want to do this. And I'm like, bro, all these things like don't matter.
Yeah.
Like nothing matters. Just launch your first product. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all that matters.
Yeah. They want to know what to name their LLC. And you're like, like whatever you want. It doesn't even matter. Like, who cares? All right. So you got your start, then you started online arbitrage, but you kind of, there, like you find with kind of physical arbitrage, right? There's sailings there and you hit them pretty quick. And the whole thing with using some of those apps, right, is you're using it, which is great, but then other folks use the exact same app. So if it rockets to the top of your listing, another 100 folks are going to jump on there, right, and try to sell the same product, and you reach those out of stock issues. So these are kind of like the classic steps, right, of arbitrage, and you kind of run into them, and then you have to make a decision to kind of go wire, right, and just do a lot more of it and scale horizontally, or go to a different type of fulfillment method. So it sounds like you went to the private label after that, right?
I did. So, with online arbitrage, the cool thing about it, once again, it's just another thing that does not need a whole lot of upfront capital to start. It's just like retail arbitrage. You're kind of like drop shipping, and that's kind of what I was doing. Is that I was drop shipping. I was simply finding products that sold on one online store for a price, and then selling on Amazon for a profit. And every time someone bought my product, I went and bought it from here and then shipped it over. So by then I had been selling for maybe, I don't know, like 6 months or something like that. I had my failures along the way, but I'd always been looking at private label. It seemed like it was more of where I really wanted to be. Although I'm not the smart person, I've never invented anything of my own. But it seemed just a little bit more passive. But I was just kind of like, okay, well, you know what? Let me take this that I'm into the highest. Let me see how high you can get, and then we'll kind of make the shift. So then I started, but you got to understand one thing. Like I started with $150,000 in debt. My accounts were levied all the time by the IRS because I owed the IRS like 40 something thousand dollars. So literally every time I knew that a deposit was going to be coming in from Amazon, I had to go to the bank before they opened because at 8:05, 8:10, I figured that the IRS is going to levy my account. And literally as soon as the bank opened at 8 a.m., I had to go into the ATM and pull whatever money out before the IRS got their hands on my money. I was making my payments little by little, but I still owed so much that they just wanted to get paid, and it had been so long. And I had lawsuits, I had all these different things, claims. I mean, I literally at one point I would walk into my restaurant's desk, and it would be just filled with lawsuits and claims and all these things. And it wasn't because I was a bad person, I was this asshole that didn't want to pay people, but it was just I didn't have money to pay, and I didn't know how to make money. So now I was actually making money. I had a certain amount of and I was not taking out any profit. The cool thing is that I was living with parents, so I wasn't paying really any bills or anything. So all the money, all the proceeds that came from my Amazon business, a chunk of it went back to paying off all the debt, and then everything else went back into reinvesting in the business. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people fail is they just want to take profit as quickly as possible. Like live cheap. I don't know if you guys know Mark Cuban, but one of the things that I saw him a year and a half ago on an interview with Ty Lopez, and he said the worst thing you can do when you first start is try to live large. Want a new car, want a new watch, want go shopping, all that. I mean, until today, I'm making seven figures. I don't even remember the last time I went shopping. Like this shirt I'm wearing, I probably had it for a year and a half. Like it doesn't matter. All these things don't matter. So I was living as cheap as possible. I didn't have any expenses. So everything I was making, I was paying off debt, reinvesting in the business, paying off debt, reinvesting in the business. Until I had some money saved up. And I decided, okay, now I know what I'm doing. Let me go and launch a product on Amazon.
Because private label now, because now you're getting into you can't
private
just
label.
you can't
Oh
just
yeah,
go in like $100 in your checking account. You need
right.
what did you
Oh
start
yeah.
with actually? Kind of what was that first
So
order? What did that look like?
absolutely. So, and these are mistakes, and these are old mistakes. And by now you would think that I have learned my lesson. I just lost the business over 3 years because I didn't know what I didn't know, and I just went in with this big ego that I can figure it all out. I know what the hell I'm doing. Watch out. And you would think I would have learned my lesson, but I didn't. So I started private label again on my own without any, I was like, oh, there's a bunch of free information on YouTube. I'm just going to keep watching. So as I was running my online arbitrage business, I was like in groups, learning as I went on YouTube, things like that. And I felt like I had enough knowledge. At the time so my first order was 500 units of a product that cost me, let me see here. Let me do quick math. Okay, so that product cost me about $3,200 to launch, 500 units. And then as quickly as that order was placed, I put in another order for another product that I was able to get away with ordering only 200 units. And I think that cost me like 1,700. So I was about $5,000 in for two products.
Okay,
I
so
didn't have.
these are pretty small initial orders. So you're able to kind of get some pretty small initial orders, sort of thing.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So about 5,000, two products, launched them both at the same time. First product, as it was being shipped to the US, I realized that it was a seasonal product and was actually going out of season. So now I had 500 units, and I sat on those 500 units for about 4 months.
Oof. What kind of product was it?
It was a molecular model kit.
And I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, so it's this thing that you use for like in like a science class, like with atoms and bonds and things like that. It's a little, I keep it around. I don't think. So it was that product, and I mean, I did everything right. I did the packaging, I did the design, I did the logo, all that stuff. And I was just super excited. You know, I did the PPC and all that, and it was just not working out. You know, it was just not working out. My PPC wasn't performing. You know, the product just wasn't selling. It was off season because it's in season when school is in, but it was out of, you know, school was out now. I think it was like summer or something like that. It was summer of 16, I believe now. Something like, I think it was summer of 16. And that's kind of when my second product went in, and that product was a uh, tactical vest kit for like kids. Like it's this vest where it's got like darts and all that stuff, you know. So I launched it in camouflage and black. I launched two different variations. That did okay actually. That started selling decently. I was selling like 2 to 5 units per day each variation. So I was selling between 6 to 10 units per day. You know, my profit margins were about $5.56. I had anticipated for about $4. But once again, another thing, I just didn't know all the steps needed. So by the time it got in, I had lost, you know, some money. I call it the leakage, where like either your FBA fees turned out to be more than what you expected. You know, the price, you can't launch it for $29.99 because you just realized a bunch of other sellers are selling it for $22.99 and you got to drop $3 4 of your price, things like that. And that was, you know, those were all issues that I had. And then I launched another product that cost me about another $2,500. And that was kind of like my failure with FBA private label. The first 6 months, three failed products, about $8,000 invested. And that's when I was like, okay, I need to stop. That's when I stopped and I started looking for courses, mentors, things like that. And that's when really everything changed in my business and just skyrocketed from there. So
Okay, so the first couple just didn't do anything, but then
didn't do anything. No,
so you started actually kind of, when everyone says invest in yourself, that sort of thing. And there's a lot of courses out there that are kind of the snake oil, but there are some good ones, right? On yeah, you see a ton, right, of how to make
absolutely.
$1 million tomorrow, that sort of thing. But there are some that are very legitimate and can actually help you and kind of I've interviewed a bunch of guests here, and they come with almost this little like kit of like, here's how we did it. You can just follow these steps. And I'm a big fan of that's like, starting off, just having that like blueprint of saying like, maybe you don't have to know how everything works because there's a lot there to learn, but at least here are the steps, execute these steps, and you'll succeed.
Right.
Totally can get behind that. So then
Absolutely.
the next product that actually kind of hit, what was it? What was different about that?
So honestly, the thing that was different about that product, and then products after here, I can't discuss because they are some products that I'm still selling. So product four, which was the first profitable product, honestly, the thing that changed is that now I had someone that I can look back to, and that's the thing that I tell a lot of people. Like, I went through 6 months of trial and error, trying to do it on my own, thinking that I have enough knowledge. Once again, the same issue that I had in my old business that I lost. Um, that 6 months, so that $7,000 I've made over and over and over again. But that 6 months that I lost, I can never get that 6 months back. And I always tell people, it's not about money. Money replenishes. Time does not. Time doesn't come back again. You know what I mean? So that learning curve that I had to go through, and even after 6 months and launching three products on my own, I didn't learn everything. I learned some things. I did not learn every single thing. It was literally like I took a course. I took two courses. They were like $400 or $500 each, and they weren't anything good. I mean, they were okay. They were mediocre. I wouldn't suggest them for anyone starting out right now. But the thing is, they started me in the right path. They started me in the right direction. They kind of filled in the gaps that I was missing. Um, so
What was the thing though, the mentor actually like what did they help tweak that kind of unlocked that, product to finally do well?
absolutely. So right after those two courses, and as I said earlier, those two courses filled in the blanks. But really, what changed my business entirely was finding that one person that was interested in seeing me succeed. That person, I don't think they exist nowadays because he wasn't an Amazon mentor. He wasn't someone that teaches Amazon. He was an Indian man living in China, running multiple eight-figure business out of China. He was like a co-founder or I don't know, owner. I don't know what his position was, but he had been selling since like 2007, 2008, and he had just massive, massive knowledge about selling on Amazon. and he found me like just posting, going on rants on all these different Amazon groups, talking smack about how Amazon private label is a scam and it just doesn't work and stuff like that. And literally one day he just reached out and is like, dude, like I see you all the time posting in all these groups. Like I was just so bitter. I was just like, so like this doesn't work. Like screw all this. I'm going back to work at a job at 9 to 5. Like, I was just so devastated all over again, because I was just so excited. I knew like, okay, this is going to take me to the $1 million that I'm thriving for. And now it just wasn't, it was just kind of breaking all over again. It was like my restaurant burning down, turning into ashes. Now my private label burning down, turning into ashes. I was just like, man. So what that mentor did for me is he restored confidence and he gave me assurance. And a lot of times all we need is affirmation. Like we have it in front of our eyes. We just are not confident enough in ourselves to really take the next level or to go and do that thing or to take action on launching a product or whatever. Most importantly, I was able to have my products analyzed by someone that I considered an expert, and it was as simple as, nope, this doesn't work. Yup, this works. And then we went into more in depth of why this will work and how should I do it. So it was just kind of having that someone there to just like give you that push in the back and just say like, go for it. And honestly, 75% of my students today have signed up for other courses and then they joined my mentoring program. And that's because a lot of, and that's the, like, I hate to say it, but unfortunately with the online world, with how it is easy for someone to start an online business and pretend like they are doing great and people following them, especially if you're a good marketer. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a good marketer, but using it on the wrong reasons. Putting some crappy something together and just selling it off for people and posting pictures with Bugattis and Lamborghinis and yachts and mansions, and then people falling for that. But you're only interested in that $400 or $500, $1,000 that you're charging people. You need to find someone that's interested in your success, and that's what that man was for me. He was interested in my, and I never paid him anything. He did not cost me. He cost me $0. He just wanted. I was like a case study for him. I was just like, he wanted to like reassure himself that he's the shit. He knows what he's doing, and he knows what he's talking about. And maybe he felt bad for me. I don't know. I really don't know what it is. I haven't talked to the man in like 2 years. He kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. But that's kind of what it was for me. It was just that someone to assure me, someone to be there for me, someone to just say, yes, you're doing good. No, don't do that. Yes, do this. Someone that's gone through the steps and really just come and answer your questions. Because like selling on Amazon and systems about selling on Amazon isn't the thing that's like one size fits all type of thing. Yes, I can record a whole program about selling on Amazon, but a lot of times we fall into the process and things just kind of don't look like how they're explained in the videos. We have some questions because it's the first time that we're doing it. And we need that one person to be there for us to kind of just guide us through the process, or maybe hold our hand, or just give us that push and give us that affirmation. And that's, I think, what it was that really made that shift in my business.
Yeah, I think a ton of it comes down to just that mental game, right? Of you the tactics, you kind of have, you have this already, but someone there to say, okay, the tactics, here's the one to execute on, and just go and give you that push. So I love that. Good. Love the story. What are you working on now? If you want to kind of plug something, or if folks kind of want to learn more about you, what can they do that?
Absolutely, man. So, I've been selling for 3 years successfully. I've made over 4.6 million with selling on Amazon. Today, what I am currently focused on is really creating awareness of the missed opportunities, whether if it's selling on Amazon or other ways. There are a million ways of making money online. I personally am currently focused only on Amazon. So my entire focus has shifted from selling, which now is operated by VAs. I barely touch my Amazon business. It's continually growing because I have a full team that's always product researching. Obviously they run products by me, but so that's one thing. But what I'm focused on is really teaching people how to sell on Amazon, really just helping people launch successful Amazon businesses. And the beauty of it is, like, before we jumped live here, I told you I was away for 3 days celebrating my wife's birthday. I don't know if you guys can see, but I'm like still red. I look like a lobster. And the beauty of it is that all I needed was my laptop. I had my laptop. I paid $10 a day for Wi-Fi to have it inside of my room, and that's it. 3 days every morning, I plugged a few things away. I worked with students, answered their questions, made some content on social, and that was that. All I need to pack is my laptop. As long as I have Wi-Fi, if it doesn't work, I'll do hotspot. And that's it. And that's the beauty of it. Whether if you are a student, if you have a full-time job, if you're a business owner, if you're in the military, if you're a single mom, if you whatever it is that you are doing, you can have a side hustle or a side business selling on Amazon or just an online business. So really right now, I initiated a movement in 2019 called the Under Dawgs Movement, and its mission, it's impacting the lives of 2,500 people in 2019. And that's exactly what I do every day, all day, is creating awareness, letting people know that there is a better way, easier way to do it than working the 9 to 5, going to college, which many people might disagree with me. Unless you're going to become a doctor, a lawyer, some high degree is going to pay you multiple six figures. I think college is a total scam. I think it's the biggest scam there has ever been. I don't think I ever do use until this day anything that I've learned in college, high school, anywhere. Like, I know my kids are not going to continue school after high school. They're only going to go to high school just because I wanted to have those fundamentals. But unless I know my kids are going to want to become doctors, lawyers, something that's going to pay them multiple six figures, education stops in high school, and it's more going to be self-education after that, whether if it's books, programs, mentors, things like that, because I think the education system is a total scam, and it just doesn't work.
I love the self-education kind of movement. So yeah, we'll definitely link to that in the show notes. And I think people, I think everyone should do more of that. It's one of those things that it helps, and you kind of can pick exactly what you need and kind of piecemeal your own education. So I love the message. I will definitely link to that in the show notes. And thank you very much for coming on and telling your story. It was great chatting with you.
Absolutely, man. Likewise. Thank you very much for having me, and it was honest and honored to be here and be with you live here, man.